I was never a fan of healthy living. After 35, my stomach treacherously rounded, and shortness of breath became a constant companion when climbing stairs. Kate, my wife, constantly hinted at fitness, but I found 1,000 excuses. "Mark, you need to pull yourself together," she said once again during dinner. "Look at Mom. At 45, she's in great shape." I looked at my mother-in-law, Susan. After the divorce, she had truly transformed. Toned figure, healthy glow, some special energy about her. "Just regular jogging," Susan smiled, catching my glance, "and a bit of self-discipline." The next morning, she called unexpectedly early. "Mark, want to join me? I'm just about to go for a run." "Me, but I've never—" "Everyone has to start somewhere. Come on, in half an hour at the park?" There was such confidence in her voice that I couldn't refuse. The park greeted us with morning coolness and fog. Susan looked amazing in tight leggings and a short sports top. "Ready?" She started warming up, and I caught myself watching her movements too intently. "I guess. For starters, just slow running. Stay close to me." The first 10 minutes were hell. My lungs were burning. My legs felt like cotton. Susan ran beside me, encouraging and giving advice. "Breathe deeper. Relax your shoulders like that." Her perfume, a light floral scent, mixed with the smell of morning freshness. For some reason, this distracted me more than the muscle pain. "That's enough for today," she said after 20 minutes. "Not bad for the first time." We sat on a bench. I tried to catch my breath. She handed me a bottle of water. "You know," she smiled, "running helps not just the body but the soul too. You can talk things out, think through problems. Hard to talk when you're out of breath. That's just for now. Later you'll get used to it and we can talk." Something in her tone made me wary. Or was I imagining it? "Same time tomorrow?" she asked, standing up. I watched sweat droplets running down her neck and thought that refusing would be wrong. Out of politeness, of course. "Of course." "Great," she patted my shoulder. "And don't forget to stretch before bed, otherwise tomorrow will be painful." At home, Kate was delighted with the news of our joint runs. "How wonderful that you've become friends. Mom has been wanting to find a training partner for a long time." And I lay in the evening bath with aching muscles, thinking about how morning fog and floral perfume were a strange combination, and that tomorrow I would smell it again. Falling asleep, I remembered how Susan was stretching and caught myself looking forward to the next morning, purely for health reasons, of course. 2 weeks flew by unnoticed. Every morning we met in the park, and gradually I began to notice changes. Breathing became easier, endurance improved, and something else changed too. "Today we'll run a new route," Susan suggested. "There are fewer people there." She was right. A narrow path led deep into the park, where trees created an almost intimate twilight. "How are things with Kate?" she unexpectedly asked while running. "Fine, I guess." That doesn't sound very confident. I looked at her, flushed, with strands of hair escaped from her ponytail. For some reason, I wanted to be honest. "Lately, we've grown distant. She works a lot, I do too." "Familiar," she slowed down. "That's how my divorce started." We stopped to catch our breath. She stood close, too close. "Don't you think," she lowered her voice, "that sometimes people just stop feeling?" "I do." Her t-shirt was wet with sweat, clinging to her body. I tried not to look, but wasn't doing a good job. "Let's sit," she pointed to a fallen tree. "Need to catch our breath." We sat shoulder to shoulder. Her thigh touched mine, and from this simple contact, goosebumps ran across my body. "You know," she said, looking into the distance, "after the divorce I thought I would never, but then I realized life doesn't end." "And how did you realize that?" She turned to me, started noticing, feeling. For example, how the heart beats not just from running. My heart was indeed pounding like crazy, and clearly not from fatigue. "Susan, time to head back." She stood up abruptly. "Kate will worry." On the way back, we were silent. But this silence was filled with something new. Dangerous. "Tomorrow?" she asked at the park exit. "Of course. Maybe we could run a bit earlier. At 6, it'll be quieter." I nodded, feeling my mouth go dry. At home, Kate was happy with my progress. "You've lost so much weight, and Mom says you're making progress." "Really?" "Yes, says you're very determined." I looked at my wife and thought that determination had nothing to do with it. Something else made me wake up at 5 in the morning and rush to the park. Something better left unthought about. At night, I dreamed of Susan. Her flushed face, loose strands of hair, t-shirt clinging to her body. I woke up sweating. The clock showed 4:30. An hour and a half until our meeting. until our little secret ritual that was becoming increasingly dangerous. "Today we'll add stretching," Susan said after the run. "You're too tense." We were in a remote part of the park where other runners rarely appeared. The morning fog created a sense of seclusion. "Lie down on the grass," she patted the ground next to her. "I'll help you stretch." I obeyed, trying not to think about how ambiguous this looked. "Relax." Her hands rested on my shoulders. "Trust me." She began massaging my muscles, and I felt warmth spreading through my body. "You need to learn to release tension." Her voice sounded hoarse. "In all ways." "What do you mean?" "You know." Her fingers glided along my back, and this no longer felt like a regular massage. "Susan!" "Shh, just feel." I turned onto my back. She hovered over me, droplets of sweat glistening on her neck. "We shouldn't," I whispered. "I know." But her hands were already sliding across my chest, and my fingers were tangled in her hair. "Someone might see." "At this hour, there's no one here." She was right. The fog hid us from the whole world. Only birds witnessed how our touches became increasingly intimate. "This is wrong," I breathed out when her lips were dangerously close to mine. "And what's right?" She pulled back. "Living without feelings? Without desires?" In her eyes, I saw the same madness that I felt myself. "What about Kate?" "Not now." She pressed a finger to my lips. "Not here." Suddenly, voices were heard in the distance. We sprang apart. "Tomorrow," she whispered, standing up. "Same time. I know a place, more secluded." I watched her leave, graceful, seductive, forbidden, my mother-in-law. The thought made everything inside clench. At home, Kate was sleeping. I quietly slipped into the shower, trying to wash off the smell of morning grass and Susan's touches. "How was the run?" my wife asked sleepily when I lay down. "Fine. Your mom is teaching me stretching." "She's an excellent trainer, isn't she?" "Yes." I closed my eyes, remembering the warmth of her hands. "Excellent." The day dragged endlessly. I couldn't concentrate on work, constantly returning in thoughts to the morning's events. In the evening, a message came. "Tomorrow at 5:30. We'll wait by the old oak." I stared at these lines for a long time, understanding that tomorrow we would cross a line. And the scariest part was, I wanted to. That morning I arrived early. The fog was particularly thick, turning the park into some ghostly place where normal rules didn't apply. Susan appeared silently, as if materializing from the fog. She wore a short sports dress instead of her usual leggings. "Shall we run?" Her voice trembled with excitement. We ran silently, going deeper into the park. My heart was pounding, not from physical exertion. "Here," she turned onto a barely visible path. A small clearing was hidden by trees. She spread out an exercise mat. "For stretching," she explained with a slight smile. We both knew it was a lie. "Susan." "Don't say anything." She stepped closer. "Just feel." Her skin smelled of morning freshness and something floral. Her hands trembled when she touched my face. The first kiss was cautious, like a trial. The second, more confident. By the third, we had both forgotten everything. The mat proved too small, but we didn't care. The grass was wet with dew. The fog concealed us from the whole world. Her whispers mixed with the morning bird song. "We've gone mad," she whispered afterward. "Completely." She lay on my chest, hair scattered across her shoulders. I had never seen her more beautiful. "You know what's worse?" She propped herself up on her elbow. "I don't regret it at all." "Neither do I." "So what do we do now?" Instead of answering, I kissed her again. We gave into passion once more, tenderly, memorizing every touch. The sun was already rising when we finally got dressed. "Kate will ask why it took so long," she said, fixing her hair. "We'll say we increased the distance. Long-distance running." She laughed bitterly. "How metaphorical." At the park exit, she suddenly stopped. "Mark!" "Yes?" This was beautiful and terrible at the same time. At home, Kate was still sleeping. I quietly slipped into the shower, trying to wash away traces of our madness. "How was the run?" she asked at breakfast. "Great! Your mom is an excellent trainer." "I'm so glad you get along." I looked at my wife and felt everything inside clench with guilt, and with the desire to feel Susan's touches again. The phone beeped. A message. "Same time tomorrow." I should have answered no. Should have ended all this madness. "Of course," I wrote, because I couldn't do otherwise anymore. After that first intimacy, our training sessions turned into sweet torture. Every morning we ran to our clearing, where the fog concealed our sins. "You've lost weight," Kate noticed, "and you're practically glowing. Mom works miracles." If only she knew what kind of miracles. "We need to talk," Susan said one morning as we lay on our mat. About what? About what we're doing. About how it's destroying us from the inside. I pulled her closer. Do you want to stop? Want to? No. Should? Yes. That morning, for the first time, we didn't give in to passion. We just lay there embracing and talked. You know what's scariest? She traced her finger across my chest. I'm starting to hate family dinners. Why? Because I see how Kate looks at you. How proud she is that we've grown so close. If she knew... Don't. No, listen. Yesterday she said she wants a baby. I sat up abruptly. What? Says you've changed, become more attentive, thinks it's the perfect time. Tears glistened in her eyes. Susan. No, Mark, we can't continue like this. This isn't just intimacy anymore. This is... love. Yes, and that's exactly why we must stop. She started getting dressed, her hands trembling. What if I don't want to stop? What if I don't want to destroy my daughter's life? We stood facing each other, disheveled, guilty, still craving each other's touch. What do you suggest? I've signed up for another gym, on the other side of town. Susan, it's better this way, for everyone. She kissed me, deeply, desperately. This is the last time. Are you sure? No, but there's no other way. At home, Kate greeted me with news. Can you believe it? Mom decided to switch to another gym. Says they have better equipment. Really? What about our runs? She said you're strong enough now to run on your own. I looked at my wife and thought that independence was the last thing I wanted in morning runs. In the evening, a message came from Susan. Don't come tomorrow. Please. I sat over this message for an hour, typing and deleting responses. Finally wrote, as you wish. But we both knew this wasn't the end. For a week, I ran alone. Every morning I passed by our clearing, inhaling the smell of fog and remembering her touches. It was like withdrawal. On Saturday, Kate announced, let's have a family dinner. Mom hasn't visited in a while. Susan came wearing the same dress she had on the day of our last meeting. Our eyes met across the table, and the air seemed to electrify. How's the new gym? Kate asked. Great. Susan averted her gaze. They have good trainers. And Mark runs by himself now, right, honey? Yes, I took a sip of wine. By myself. After dinner, Susan went out to the veranda. I knew I shouldn't follow her, but I did. Don't, she said without turning. Please. I miss you. I miss you too. Every damn second. She turned, tears glistening in her eyes. You know what I realized this week? She came closer. That sometimes love is measured not by how much you want to receive, but by what you're willing to give up. And what are you willing to give up? Happiness my own for her happiness. At that moment, Kate came out to the veranda. Here you are. What are you whispering about? Running, Susan quickly said. Giving Mark breathing technique advice? How wonderful that you've become such good friends. I looked at my wife, happy, suspecting nothing, and understood. Susan was right. Later that evening, a message came. I'm leaving to Europe for 6 months. Decision made. When? Tomorrow. Can we meet one last time? No, it'll be easier this way. I sat over the phone, feeling my world crumbling. I love you, I wrote. I know. That's why I'm leaving. The next morning, I came to our clearing. She was there, in a tracksuit, as if she really came for a run. I asked you not to... Couldn't let you go like this. We gave in to passion one last time, desperately, hungrily, knowing this would never happen again. The fog concealed us, just like the first time. Take care of her, she whispered afterward, and yourself. And who will take care of you? Time, distance, maybe a new life. At the park exit, she turned. You know what's funny? I really did get better at running. Me too. Goodbye, Mark. Goodbye, trainer. She smiled through tears and disappeared into the morning fog. An hour later, Kate showed me a message. Can you believe it? Mom flew to Europe. Says she's been dreaming about it. I hugged my wife, feeling my heart ache. Now I run alone in the mornings. Every day I pass by our clearing, breathe in the smell of fog, and think about how some runs change not just the body, but the soul. And about how sometimes the strongest love is the one you give up for those you love even more. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.